What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Importance Flashback Reviews, where we take movies from our past, break them down, and tell you what we think about them. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button at the top to find out what's coming next. Also, comment below on any of these videos, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, so on and so forth. So we're gonna end finally the journey to the Dark Phoenix, because literally the next movie is the Dark Phoenix movie. We're gonna end it with the much maligned, very not liked X-Men Apocalypse, and I'm one of those people that doesn't like this movie because it's a movie that is way too overstuffed, is doing too many things, is introducing too many characters, and is basically erasing whatever X2 had, whatever X-Men had. And it's just, this movie is, it's a mess, and there's a reason for that. And if you try to like break down the story, it's basically you have the Dark Phoenix saga going on, you have Apocalypse going on, and you have Weapon X in this movie. And that's like a huge problem because this movie should have been a nice capper for the whole entire trilogy because Disney was getting ready to buy Fox. There was early rumors at this point that Disney was going to take over Fox and so on and so forth. But instead, this movie introduces us to Jean Grey, who's played by Sophie Turner in this movie. She is on the precipice of becoming the Phoenix. And of course, we're getting a fourth movie coming out next week, as this, or actually the same week as this video post. And it's not a very good storyline, like exactly like X-Men Last Stand. This is a movie that is trying to make her character a super powerful human being, but it just doesn't she doesn't have any substance to her character. And it's even played even worse with Sophie Turner's performance, where she just feels off and stilted. The dialogue is really weird with her character when she, at the very end, when Charles Xavier basically brings her Phoenix out of her and she's like floating on air and she kills off, Apocalypse. It just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't work. And it's just another problem with them trying to adapt the Phoenix Saga. Once again, Simon Kinberg is involved with trying to adapt this famous comic, from Chris Claremont. And it just feels like a overused property that maybe should just not happen. Look at X-Men Days of Future Past. That property, I guess maybe because the comic was so short that they were able to kind of flesh it out. But here it's just another plot point, and it doesn't really matter. And all it's used for is to kill Apocalypse, and that's a huge problem in my book. And that's another thing. I love Oscar Isaac, but he's so miscast as Apocalypse because Apocalypse should be this overbearing. This guy is just like menacing, and he's just not menacing in this. He does has some powers. He can, take people and float them through the floor into the concrete. He can do all kinds of cool stuff, but he's not menacing at all. He's just a goofy rendition of a blue guy. There's a lot of blue people in the X-Men franchise, which is funny. But there's nothing fun about his character. He's just there to gain some followers who are the most random group of people, including Magneto, played by Michael Fassbender. But, when you have characters like Angel, who's actually a really fun character in the comics, you have the character Storm, who was played pretty well by Halle Berry, but is just kind of just an empty vessel here. And then you have Olivia Munn, who's playing Psylocke, who's also really miscast. It's just nothing works in this storyline. It's another storyline that just doesn't work. This is the overarching storyline about Apocalypse in ancient Egypt had become a deity. He was loved by all the people except for a few who went up against him, and basically they basically entombed him for a millennial or whatever, however many thousands of years, until he is basically resurrected in the 1980s by a group of his followers. And at that point we're getting back Rose Byrne as more McTaggart, who's just another wasted character. I'm gonna start saying wasted characters a lot because there's so many wasted characters in this movie. Ty Sheridan comes in as Scott Summers Cyclops, and he's wasted, and Nicholas Hoult is wasted in this movie, and you have Kodi Smit-Mcphee, who's playing Nightcrawler, and it's just another wasted character. There's just a lot of wasted opportunity in this movie. You need to have a movie that has a lot of. It needs to kind of compel itself. It needs to enthrall itself into the audience, and it feels like such a mess. And after Apoclaypse is resurrected and he does his thing, he starts getting his followers with, Angel and all the other characters. They become just like background noise, and it just really sucks, and it's just so frustrating. But like I said, Apoclaypse is going to basically take over the world. It's another take over the world scenario, and it's just not fun. And like I said, if you ever read the comics of Apoclaypse, he was a guy or a deity or villain that was so engaging with his quest to basically world dominate things. And he used these characters like, Angel and, Psylocke and all these characters to full effect. And they were fun characters to watch. And it was fun to see Apoclaypse go up against the X-Men or Spider-Man or Doctor Strange or any of these characters. But it just doesn't happen here. It's just really weird and offsetting, off-putting. And it feels like wasted time and space. I mean, this movie's 2.5 hours and it still feels like an overwrought, overlong movie. And then at some point, out of the blue, William Stryker shows up after kind of a really cool sequence, once again, with Evan Peters as Quicksilver, who was rescuing a bunch of kids at Xavier's mansion because, Lucas Till's Havoc basically destroys everything and is killed in the process, which is another crazy thing. And he saves all the kids, and you know the sequence I'm talking about because it goes with the sweet dreams are made of these. And that's a really cool sequence. But once that happens, we're getting into the Weapon X stuff where, William Stryker just, like I said before, just pops out of nowhere. And then Hugh Jackman pops up as Wolverine. And there's that whole sequence which could have been completely just taken out of the process. And it's just like, who gives a crap? But, there's also Jennifer Lawrence is back as Mystique, and she looks really bored in this movie. She looks like she's just making a paycheck. She doesn't fit in this movie at all. It doesn't make any sense. She had this cool story arc in Days of Future Past that's just completely like it's dissipated and disappeared, and it's an awful story arc of herself. And it's just that's the problem. That's the main issue, is just story arcs that just don't fit anywhere. But yeah, it's just, I don't think the director, I don't think the writer, I don't think they really knew where they were going with this story. I think they wanted to tell a cool story of Apoclaypse, but I think they also were too worried about doing the Dark Phoenix saga. I think, when you have great actors like James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender and Jennifer Lawrence, and you really can't get a good performance out of any of them, they just feel stilted and weird, and, the dialogue's weird. It just doesn't work. And there's this joke that happens like halfway through the movie, right before the Evan Peters Quicksilver stuff, where they make a joke because they had just seen Return of the Jedi, and Sophie Turner goes, the worst thing about it is the third movie is always the worst. Well, there you go. The Apoclaypse is the worst of the series, at least up until Dark Phoenix. I mean, I'm trying to hold out hope that movie may be decent, but there's stuff like that. There's just weird moments of trying to be funny, and then Evan Peters Quicksilver is trying to tell Magneto that he's his dad, and there's another moment where at the very beginning Magneto has a family, which is just very strange and very odd and doesn't fit, and just it's for him, it's basically a way for him to become angry again, and there's no reason for him to be angry. It just, I don't know. I just feel like this movie was doing too much. It's a movie that ends the Fox series of X-Men movies because Disney now owns Fox. I don't consider Dark Phoenix a Fox movie anymore. It's a Disney movie, and it's such a shame because this franchise started with X-Men and X2, there was so much potential in this franchise, and then when Last Stand happened and when First Class happened, I actually got a lot of hope that First Class was going to fix Last Stand, because like I said in some point in this review, this movie completely just steps all over X2, and it's such a shame. That's why I consider it kind of an alternate dimension movie, because X2 has such a great narrative to it that when Apoclaypse happened, it just completely just ruined the whole franchise, and it's such a shame. And I hope Disney does something good with it. I hope Kevin Feige and Marvel do something good with the X-Men. But the fact that this movie didn't do it, the fact that it took Logan, the movie from James Mangold, to kind of just make the X-Men franchise feel somewhat relevant, is such a shame, because this movie should have been cool. This movie should have been fun, and it just isn't. So, but anyways, that'll do it for my take on X-Men Apoclaypse. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, remember to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button at the top, to find out what's coming next. If you like this movie, comment below. Tell me why you like this movie. If you don't like this movie, tell me why as well. Tell me what your favorite X-Men character is, like I've said before. Yeah, that's going to do it for the Journey to Dark Phoenix saga. Look for my review of Dark Phoenix on Thursday, or whenever during the week of this review. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.